Good morning, YouTube. It's your favorite Captain back, Captain Jesso, and we want to sit down and do a little talking today. We're getting near that time of year. When I say near, I mean we're only about halfway, but we're getting close to that fabled ban list, that ever meta-changing, format-defining, crazy thing coming up. And the thing that's been on everybody's mind, the thing that people have been complaining, whining, arguing about in the meta, is this: Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. And there's been tons of opinions about what we should do with it. Should we ban it? Should we keep it? Should we do this with that? Should we modify this? Now, you've heard the rest. You're going to hear the best when it comes to the opinions. Maybe you're going to hear my opinion, and here's what my opinion is going to be on it. So, obviously, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is very controversial in this game. The problem is Dragoon is controversial because it's easily turreted out by two cards. There's a little engine that you run, right? You've got Red Eyes Fusion, which if you draw it, great, pull it, drop Dragoon. But it's a very easy card to bully out in a lot of decks because you can just drop Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda. You get any two effect monsters on the board. You drop down Anaconda. You copy the effect of Red Eyes Fusion, and boom, you've got yourself a free boss monster. And not a bad boss monster either. Dragoon isn't that bad. I'm sure we all know the effect by now, but it's not like it's one of the worst things to drop on a board, even if after you get Ash Blossom twice, or you get Hand Trapped, or this and that. But people are worried that it's a little too generic, that it's a little too splashable, that it's turning even the baddest decks. You know, you can take even the worst decks on the planet and do something with them because, well, just make Verte, make Dragoon. And so we're seeing a lot of argument about that back and forth. Should Dragoon, get limited? Should it get taken down to zero? Should it get forbidden? Should we hit any of the other pieces on the ban list? Maybe we just take out, ban Red Eyes Fusion, ban Verte. What do you do in this case? And Konami's going to have a really interesting decision when it comes to ban list season, which, by the way, no sooner than October 1st. So we're only about, as recording this, just about a month and some away, depending on how long they take to stretch it out. Anybody remember that March ban list? Because I do. And we've got a couple of issues with this. So I see a lot of people online making the argument for not banning any of these pieces because it gives even the worst decks, some rogue decks, things that are kind of on the outside, a chance to be played. Which I get that. We want a healthy, diverse format when right? You don't want to see Teledead ever come back again to its full power and sit on, how powerful was how long was Teledead even the format for? It seemed like a ridiculous time. It was like over a year, I think, that people were just playing Dad. That was it. So, it's just one of those things, I guess, that, what do? We want a diverse format. You want a bunch of different decks to be played. You want a bunch of different decks to be good. But is Dragoon just too generic? Is it too easy to just splash into literally any deck you could ever make ever? Uh-oh, I get hand trapped. Uh-oh, my board gets interrupted, and we take two, make Verte. Here is my opinion. Okay, this is my big brain opinion for the day. This is one that goes a little bit off course from what people are normally used to talking about, used to doing. How we don't ban anything, right? We keep everything at 3. But, let's not make this quite as tutorable. So I want to go back to a few years to a card I think we probably all know very well. Was a card called Goyo Guardian, okay? Goyo Guardian was kind of the Dragoon of way past formats back in Synchro because you could splash into your extra deck, you could cheat it out really easy, and it had an incredibly good effect. Because it was generic, it only had one tuner and, one non-tuner, basically. If you could make a 6, you made Goyo. There wasn't a lot of other super really good 6s to go into. Goyo was pretty much the best 6 at the time you would go and tutor yourself into, okay? Excuse me. But the problem is it became too generic, became too splashable. So what did they do with Goyo Guardian, you say? Well, they errated it. And all they did to it was a very, very basic errata. They didn't change it. They didn't break it like they did Makir the Destructor. Absolutely terrible, gross errata. They didn't neuter it like they did Crush Card or with the... They just went with one Earth Tuner. Instead of making it generic, that you could splash into any deck, you now had to have one Earth Tuner. Well, what do you pull out? Right? It becomes a lot more targeted. You can still run Goyo, but nobody really did after that. And I'm thinking, what if we took Verte and we errated it? Instead of just being two very basic effect monsters, Let's route it to 2 plant effect monsters, right? Am I crazy here? Because here's the thing. You would still be able to run your Dragoon engine. I still don't think it's a bad engine. You have to realize, you have to run to make Dragoon 2 Garnets, right, in Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon. So you have to give up a little bit of deck space to run this engine, right? Dragoon's a very outable card. You use a Kaiju, you use Dark Ruler no more, you use, your droplets, whatever. It's a very interruptible card. I don't think it's overpowered, but I do think the engine that runs it is way too consistent and way too generic. And I think if we take out that, you've got to work for it. And I think John from House of Champs put it the best, because he made a discussion on this the other day, is to see Dragoon actually get brought out, especially not with cheating it with verte. I think that's good. If you can cheat out Dragoon, it's a good card. It's a balanced card as far as I'm concerned. It's just too easy to cheat out and too generic. And I think that's the only argument I can make with that. And I think it would be a good idea to do this with verte, and I don't think we should hit these guys. And I have an argument for this, and the argument comes up in the newest set that comes out, which is Burst of Destiny. And we've got this guy coming through, Destiny Hero, Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. Now, if you don't know what this guy does, okay, basically you have to build him with 1 level 6 or higher hero monster plus 1 Destiny Hero monster. So, you have to have a little bit of hero, your hero garnets, or if you're just running a hero deck, you'd put this in, but if you're not running a hero deck, you'd run a couple of hero garnets. I forget exactly what people are running. I know there's a couple that let you recycle and draw, but my brain's not there right now. It's still early in the morning. So, number 1, monsters your opponent control lose 200 attack for each hero card in your graveyard. Not super great, but if you got, you're already gonna have 2 in the graveyard, so at least 400 attack lost. I mean, it makes it as a good beat stick, I guess. But here, the number 2 effect is what people are going through. Is quick effect. You can destroy 1 card you control and 1 card on the field. Well, here's the thing. You can just destroy this guy here, right? Doesn't say you can't destroy anything else. And then non-targeting, by the way, I should say this is non-targeting removal. You can non-targeting destroy something else on the field. And this isn't just destroy your opponent's cards. You can non-targeting remove pretty much any of their bosses, any of their, some of their back row or whatever they got. Or you can just non-target destroy something you have to create and go into combos or extend, right? But here's what gets crazy. Effect number 3. This card is destroyed by battle or card effect. You can activate this effect. Special summon 1 Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard during your next standby phase. This card can recur itself. Okay? So basically, you pop it, you pop something else, standby phase, drop this back on the board, rinse and repeat, right? You got once per turn clauses, doesn't matter. You're only going to use this once per turn. It's a very good boss monster. Balanced, I think, personally. I don't think it's too broken, but it's got, alongside of this, a very good fusion card that's going to come out, or sorry, that already is come out, I guess, in Fusion Destiny, where you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck to list the Destiny Heroes material using monsters from your hand or deck as fusion material. So you've got that same kind of Red Eyes fusion deal where you can use from your deck. But destroying there in the end phase next turn. Also, for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except Dark Hero monsters. So what's going to end up happening, people are going to run verte, because again, they can verte into Fusion Destiny, get yourself this guy here, and then you start doing your loops, right? And the thing is if we do that, this can then become, just like Dragoon, another splashable, abusable, generic target you can use for Fusion. And I don't know if that's... I don't think that's healthy for the game myself. I guess it does help make some less viable decks a lot more viable. There's a lot of argument here and there. I mean, I don't know. It's either you gotta ban verte or you just make it less consistent. And I think routing it would be the best way to do it, right? Because then you have to, if you really want to run these generic engines, you now have to run 2 plant effect monsters. Now you've got to run something a little more targeted, a little more, a little more painful. But I don't know. What's your guys' opinion on it? That's just me, right? So, do we think it's healthy? Do we think Dragoon bad? Do we think Dragoon forbidden? Like, what are we thinking here? I want to hear your thoughts below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, do whatever. I'm here. I'm making content. We're going to keep making videos. I got lots on the docket. Other than that, ooh, is it starting to rain out? Ooh, it's going to be a comfy day. Anyways, I'm babbling on too much. I think you guys get the point. Have a good morning. Monday. It's Monday. Painful. Have a good evening. We'll see you on the flip side. Just so out.